Hello, Assalamu alaikum everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the wonderful city of Liverpool, my home city. And what a special day to be in my own city itself. I mean, this incredible privilege. As you guys probably have seen, I've done videos of Malaysia, Singapore, various other countries as well. And I thought, you know what, it's about time I did my own city. It's very common for us to look, take our own city for granted. And I've been guilty of that. So I thought, you know, it's high time I did one for my own city itself, and I'm in this beautiful, beautiful location of, Pier Head, Albert Dock, with the iconic Liver building behind me as well, and there's Mr. Beatles also. And what an occasion to share with people you love, and I have here in front of you a family friend of ours. This is Uncle Danny Humphreys.
Hello everybody out there.
It's crazy how Uncle Danny and I met, and I'll save that for another video itself. But yeah, Liverpool, my city, our city, is the best city in the world. In terms of its location, it's located in the northwest region of England. It's about 200 miles away from the capital city of London itself. Its closest major city is Manchester. It's on the eastern border of England. It's only about half an hour drive away from North Wales, and behind me on this particular side, which I'm just going to show you now, so sorry for whizzing the camera, that's the River Mersey. Just behind Uncle Danny is the River Mersey, and that separates England from Ireland essentially, because the River Mersey goes into the Irish Sea, and the Irish Sea obviously leads you to Ireland itself. So yeah, in terms of few other history, background information of Liverpool, it has 480,000 people. It's an incredibly multicultural city, and that's mainly due to its history, which Uncle Dan is going to talk about. We have people from different religion, different culture. It has the oldest Black African community in UK. It also has the oldest Chinese community in the whole of Europe. Which is incredible. I mean, the people of Liverpool were known as Liverpudlian or Scousers. Scouse is also a term that's used to describe the stew, which is a soup, and that dish essentially is a Scandinavian dish. It was brought over by Scandinavian sailors, and their version was called lobscouse. And obviously over time that got corrupted into scouse, so the term scouse also refers to the stew. It's also used, and that stew, by the way, was a very popular dish for the poor people in the 19th century, and then naturally became the national dish of Liverpool itself. What else? I mean, the Scouse is also used to define the accent and the dialect. We have over 100 of our own unique words. I know friends of mine who've come from India and Bangladesh, and they just cannot understand us at all. They say to us that it's a completely different language altogether, and I guess to an extent they're right. It is difficult to understand. Yeah, the city itself is over 800 years old. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It was also voted European Capital of Culture in 2008. Naturally, getting the status of a World Heritage site, it puts it on par with the likes of Taj Mahal and the Great Wall of China. And what's also incredible as well is there's something called the Rough Guide. I think you guys know it. It's so incredibly famous and popular. It's an online guide which showcases places to visit. And when you go to the Rough Guide and you go to the website, they have a list of 50 things to do before you die, and Liverpool's number 3rd. It's before the Taj Mahal, before the Great Wall of China. So that says it all. I mean, what an amazing city. What a privilege to be here. In terms of the 480,000 people, there's 1,000 Bengalis, so just over 1,000 Bengalis. Myself, I've been living here since 1991. My maternal auntie, she's been here. She was one of the original Bengalis of Liverpool. She's been here for decades on end. My khala, as we say in Bengali. So yeah, I mean, a large community. I'll just ask Uncle Danny now, as he's wondering off. This is first time, by the way, so go easy on him. In terms of your population, your family, Uncle Danny, how long have you guys been here?
My family have been here since 1840.
1840. Wow. Okay. So you're both up in Dingle, right?
Right, in a dingle.
How far is that from here?
About a mile away, 2 mile away.
About a mile. So he's an original Scouser. I'm just a half Scouser. But there's only 1,000 Bengalis within Liverpool itself, and I'm sure the rate that we reproduce, we'll be taking over the city very soon. So don't you guys worry about that. Yeah. So we're going to talk about a little bit about the history and background, and I'll leave it to Uncle Danny to explain about the city itself. Where did Liverpool get its name from? I mean, where did that come from first?
It's originally recorded in...
Yeah, do you want to take over?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, it's originally recorded 1198 as Liverpool, spelt Liuerpol, and that meant a village or a hamlet by a pool or a creek with muddy water. We've actually moved on since then because the Mersey has actually been cleaned well up and it's no longer a muddy pool. The last count it had...
just speak up a little bit. No, it's
yeah.
okay. Just speak up a little bit because it gets a little bit quiet. That's all. So I may have to talk a little bit louder. You don't have to go close, but just a bit louder.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, the last count on the Mersey was there was 21 marine animals in there, including salmon. So that means it's well cleaned up the river. The next recorded one was in 1217 with King John, who gave the town of Liverpool, which was spelled Livpul, into a town status. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, as you were saying, Liverpool was originally a hamlet, a tiny hamlet of fishermen. Such was the insignificance of Liverpool itself. They hardly had any population, hardly had anything. That when the Doomsday Book of 1086, when William the Conqueror did the Great Survey, Liverpool was not even mentioned. I mean, considering how comprehensive that book was in its time, and for it to be not mentioned says it all. So as Uncle Danny was saying, the time when Liverpool got a recognition was, what was it?
It was 1217.
1217, and what happened during then?
Now that's when King John gave us the status, and it changed it from a hamlet to a town. At that time, there was 7 streets in the town. Them streets still exist.
Where are those streets now?
Okay.
We're in Albert Dock now.
Yeah.
Could you just point to what direction those streets are?
Probably at the back. In fact, we are probably looking down at one, but they are.
There you go.
If you come here, they are Dale Street, Castle Street, Chapel Street, Ty Barnes Street, Old Old Street, Water Street, and the High Street.
So those 7 streets
still exist.
They exist, and they're the original definition of what Liverpool is, and literally it's just there, 2 minutes walk.
Yeah.
That's where those places are, and it's done in a H shape as well.
Yeah.
And do you know what was King John? Why did he pick those particular streets? So I mean, what was his motive?
His motive was that he wanted a dock on the west side so he could go to Ireland and get to Ireland, but he also wanted it outside the realms of Cheshire, so that the Earl of Chester couldn't rule the port, because them two did not get on together. They hated each other. But though he was the king, the Baron of Chester was still the most powerful man.
Okay, cool. Just 1 second. Welcome back. I just thought we'd give you a bit of a different change of scenery. Absolutely beautiful River Mersey behind us. So yeah, so as Uncle Danny was mentioning regarding the borough, you mentioned about King John and how Liverpool officially became recognised. What happened after that?
Well,
the castle itself.
Yeah.
So you're saying regarding the castle itself?
Yeah, it was built on where now the Queen Victoria Monument is, and it was built by William de Fraser, 4th Earl of Derby.
And when was the castle built? Well, what year was that?
1235.
Okay.
And it was removed in 1726.
Okay.
Which is a long time standing there.
Yeah, and Liverpool unfortunately did not go through much growth for even the next 5 centuries. So even though the castle was built and King John had recognised Liverpool as a town itself, Sadly, for the next 5 centuries, nothing really happened, nothing of significance. There were two families though who dominated the Liverpool scene, the Stanleys and the Molyneux. They did not like each other. Naturally, they were competing for power, and there was a lot of power play itself. They had a mini rivalry to an extent that nearly a war broke out within Liverpool between the two families. But thankfully, or for them anyway, thankfully, the English Civil War was taking place at that time, around about the 17th century, and they both came together, the Stanleys and the Molyneux, to fight against the Roundheads or the Royalists. The Royalists were supported by the likes of Manchester, and they tried to attack Liverpool. And John Moores, whose name resides within Liverpool and the John Moores University, he actually led the fight for Liverpool against the Royalists, or the Roundheads as they were known. And for Liverpool, I mean, they ended up killing 1,500 of the king's people or soldiers. And sadly, when the king ultimately did take over Liverpool, they exacted bloody revenge on the people of Liverpool themselves. So yeah, for 5 centuries, Liverpool, nothing really happened of significance until the 16th century, when it was a slave, right? It was a slave trade that took place.
Yeah, the slave trade took place where there was a triangle of Liverpool, Bristol and London, and they went down to Africa, taking slaves from Africa over to America, exchanging them and putting them on the cotton estates, and then the cotton would be brought over to England and then sent on to either cotton mills in Manchester and over to Leeds, where it progressed from there.
And which parts of Liverpool were they actually coming from? Because we're in Albert Dock now.
Yeah.
Is this the part where they used to come? Or,
the ships would have sailed from here.
Okay.
And in 1715, they actually made the first wet dock in Liverpool, which allowed more ships to come in and allowed the growth of that slave trade.
Of the slave trade itself.
Yeah, within Liverpool, so they could hold 100 ships at a time in the dock without the tide affecting it.
Yeah. Sadly, I mean, it goes without saying, it's a horrible part of Liverpool's history that the whole of the slave trade is probably one of the lowest elements of, or lowest parts of human history, and it's incredibly unfortunate. But while Liverpool benefited, along with the likes of Bristol, from the slave trade, or the merchants did anyway, the city merchants, Liverpool was also the home of the abolitionist movement as well. It was where you're not getting recorded. The lady here is posing away. Too late. The attention's only on us, nobody else. So sorry about that. It was also the home of the abolitionist movement, where you had the likes of William Rathbone, William Roscoe, and Edward something, I forget his name, Rushton I think it was, who campaigned against the whole movement itself. So we're going to talk a little bit more now about the development of Liverpool. Go for it.
Hello, we're back again. I spoke about the wet dock before. The reasoning behind the wet dock was that, as you can see behind us, we've got the landing stage.
There you go.
At the moment it's high tide. In low tide, the difference between it can be 30 foot. So the ships have to go up and down, and as you see, the landing stage is quite flat at the moment. That can be very steep at times. So in 1715, they built the wet dock, which allowed 100 ships to come in, close the gates at high tide, tide could go down, but the ships still stayed where they were, and they weren't battered. Eventually that got too small, so they built the Albert Dock and all the other docks right along the front of Liverpool, from Liverpool city centre here, right up to Bootle in the north.
Okay. Yeah, as my Uncle Danny was mentioning, it's the dock that paved the way for the expansion of Liverpool. Liverpool as a city grew incredibly during the 19th century. It was obviously a major global port, and also the Industrial Revolution, which was taking place in UK at the time, allowed for further growth of the city itself. During that period, such was the dominance of Liverpool that 40% of world trade was actually passing through the city itself. The likes of Liverpool and Bristol was the heart of human civilization at that time. And obviously for the younger generation, there you go, he's telling him to shut up, I think. The younger generation who don't know much about their old history, I mean, during that time, your planes and your cars were not invented, and ships were the main form of transportation or navigation around the world. And Liverpool was the heart of the world during that moment. So naturally, it led to a lot of migrants coming here from likes of Ireland, and even people from various parts of England were coming here as well. And sadly, there was also a period of Irish history which coincided during that time. So around about 1840, there was a great potato famine, and so many people from Ireland came over to Liverpool with the intention of essentially going to North America, but a lot of people stayed here as well. So that led to a huge growth in the Catholic community within Liverpool, and also it was a period of incredible economic and social progress within the city itself, which we're going to talk about now as well. So yeah, just taking a little breather. It's a long video. He's an old man and I'm an older man. So yeah, regarding its more recent history, Uncle Dan is going to mention about what took place. I mean, what happened recently in Liverpool.
Well, again, we know the war took place in the 1940s. Liverpool was heavily bombed, 80 raids.
This was during the Second World War,
yeah,
right?
Second World War. 2.5k people were killed.
Okay, that's a lot of people. That's 2,500 people. Yeah, I mean, obviously you weren't alive, but was there any member of your family? I mean, I'm sure your mum and dad, everyone. Yeah.
Okay. My mum and dad were. My dad got evacuated to Wales, where my mother stayed here. And one night she went into the air raid shelters because there was bombing. And when she come out, no house.
Wow.
So if they'd have stayed in the house, she would have been killed.
Wow, it's crazy to think. I mean, we're lucky. We, as most of us living in UK, we'll never experience that. But obviously, different parts of the world is, and sadly, Uncle Danny's family have experienced it. Has your mum or mum and dad ever spoken about their experience, or has it been just one of those things that they just never want to talk about? I mean,
no, my mum always talks about it, but my dad, as I say, got evacuated to a little town in Wales, in Cribben, in Wales. So he never really saw the bombing here, but my mum did get it firsthand.
Yeah, so there was 80 raids within the actual city of Liverpool itself, and you can imagine, what one bomb raid does, and just imagine having 80 altogether. There is a church called the Bombed Out Church, which we are going to show as part of the video later on, or within this tour guide itself, where the effect of the bombing is still there, and that's kept as more as a historical lesson, I guess, more than anything. I mean, it's incredible what a bombing does. One bombing does, and just imagine 80. So the city actually declined post the Second World War. Naturally, it led to a decline in manufacturing and the docks. Because your dad worked in the docks, didn't he?
Yeah,
Okay.
He worked in the docks for many years.
What did he do? What
he was unloading and loading ships, but he could have been sent to anywhere.
Okay.
And one of the things about the dockers were they just turned up in the morning. If you got picked to work, you worked and you got paid. If you didn't get picked, you got sent home.
Well, I guess we complain about low wage and whatnot, and look at the hardship that the people went, and those days you didn't have all this government support itself. So obviously a lot of hardship that Uncle Danny and his family had gone through, and all respect to the likes of that generation for actually persevering during that difficult phase. And it's something that you and I, the younger generation, we can learn from. Coming back to more of its recent history, obviously the World War led to a big deterioration of the city itself in terms of manufacturing, but thankfully Liverpool and the people of Liverpool had a sense of escape from all the tragedies that befell it, because during the 1960s there was a huge explosion of music and the arts in itself, and it gave birth to Liverpool's golden Fab Four, which are the Beatles. We are going to talk a lot more about the Beatles, their history and their contribution to the city and to the world of music in itself. They are the king of pop. When you mention pop, you mentioned the Beatles. And they exploded during the 1960s. And then more recent history of Liverpool is that during the July 2004, as I mentioned to you guys, Liverpool was awarded the UNESCO World Heritage Site for various places. So all the way from that part of Albert Dock, Dock in Uncle Danny there as well, all the way to Pierhead, Stanley Dock. Then you've got the rope walks, and then you got the St George's Quarter. They're all classified as World Heritage Sites by UNESCO, and the actual effort by the Liverpool city, or was based on the fact that it's a maritime mercantile city. So that was their reasoning for winning the World Heritage Award. During 2004, it also gave birth to the Paradise Project. So it was a £920 million project with the intention of revamping the city because it had gone through so much decline, and that led to the creation of Liverpool One, as well as later on the Echo Arena. And in 2008, Liverpool won European Capital of Culture. That's an annual award that's given to a city, and a lot of money is injected to celebrate the city and its art scene, etc. So that's the history, modern history. So far, we've glossed over it, and we have been yapping for a long time, so sorry about that, guys. We are gonna go and show you our beautiful city now. Anything else you want to add to the video, or to the people who's watching you?
No, that's okay. That's fine.
Okay, just have a look at this. Can you see it? Speedboat. And that there is Birkenhead, by the way. They claim to be Liverpool. They're not part of Liverpool. They're Birkenhead. But yeah, let's go and discover our beautiful, beautiful city. And again, I'm very privileged, on a personal note, to be sharing this with Uncle Danny. And hopefully, you guys will meet more members of my family and friends, as part of the video. So yeah, enjoy and welcome. Welcome to the video.
I've just mentioned Birkenhead. It's also known as the One-Eyed City.
Because it has one-eyed people in it. That's why. Anyway, guys, see you later.